Welcome, theater lovers. We are going to be doing a makeup tutorial for a dark and moody show. We're going to start by making sure that on clean and moisturized skin, you start the prepping. I'm going to start with putting some eye primer on my eyelids. This is just going to make sure that the makeup that I'm going to put on my eyes is going to stay put. Eyelids tend to be a little bit oilier, at least for some people. If you don't have that issue, then you don't have to do that. I'm using two mirrors. I'm using one that is very close to me and one that is further away because this is going to be important. I'm going to now use a primer that is for my type of skin. Some skins are dry or normal. You can use a primer for your skin that is for that. But in my case, I need one that is mattifying and also pore filling because of my type of skin. Notice that I'm not massaging it everywhere. I'm just pressing it to make sure that it tries to give me a smooth canvas as possible, as much as possible, so I can put my makeup on. While that starts, doing what it's supposed to do, I'm going to start with concealer. Some people can go straight with just concealer to prime their eyelids, and they're fine. The concealer is great because it helps to cancel any discolorations or veins. I do need a primer, an eye primer, and then a concealer because, again, I do have oily skin. So I'm just trying to, again, just prepare my eyelids so I can put some eyeshadow. And I'm going to do eyeshadow first, so I don't have to worry about it falling on my face. And then I just do the rest of my complexion after. We are going to be using, as commissioned by the director, we're going to be using some neutral colors. I'm going to first set my eyelids with any powder because you want, if it's sticky, if the eyes are sticky, it's going to be hard to blend. So you want that dry. So use some powder so then you can easily blend eyeshadow. We're going to be using any eyeshadows that you have at home, that basically a lighter brown, a darker brown, and a black. In retrospect, I could have just started, instead of using the lighter brown, that is almost like a little bit grayish, I could have just used the contour as my first shadow. So, which is fine, but I'm just using the lighter of the browns to start creating the shape that I want. Noting that I am looking at both mirrors. The reason that I'm doing this is because you want to make sure that when you apply your eyeshadow, you can see it even when your eyes are open. If you don't see it when your eyes are open, you are doing all that work for nothing. So please make sure that you continue to open your eyes and then reapply as needed. If you have more space in your eyelid, then make sure that you bring it a little bit higher, because the idea is anything that you don't put color on is just going to come forward, okay? We're going to be using a lot during the tutorial, the chiaro oscuro concept. If you paint, it is basically the use of lights, and shadows to be able to have something come forward or something to recede in the back. If you want your eyes to look like they have a lot more depth, you want to make sure that you can see that darker eyeshadow after you open your eyes. If you don't, again, go higher. As I move to the darker colors, I am going to first tap it on my hands. I just do that to make sure that I don't put too much. It's a lot easier to add than it is to take away. Notice that I usually pat and then I blend. And by blend, that doesn't mean that you blend everything together. Remember, you just want to blend the harsh lines, but you don't want to turn it all into one color. You want some dimension. I'm going to put this dark color only on the corners or the last kind of quarter of your eye. The other color I try to put all over the eyelid and bring it high enough, but this darker one, you're just going to make it You're just going to make it to the ends of the eye, maybe like, 1/4 of the eye. I'm using now a clean brush with nothing on it just to try to blend some of the harsh lines that I had. But notice that I'm still not, still keeping pretty much the eyeshadow in the same place. I noticed that eye didn't have as much pigment, so I'm adding more pigment as I see that I need. Some people use tape under the eyes to catch fallout. I don't. But you're gonna see that right now it doesn't matter if something falls under your eyes because I'm gonna remove it with a makeup remover wipe. Once you are happy with the color, then you can take a makeup remover wipe or a Q-tip with some makeup remover. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe under my eyes, going in an upward position, just so I can make sure that I give it a little bit more shade. Don't be harsh when you do it. I promise that I'm not being harsh. I just make weird faces. Now that you have the shape established, you can use any eyeliner. It could be liquid, it could be pencil. You can get some really great ones at the drugstore nowadays that are pretty waterproof or water resistant. I'm going to go ahead and use this to shape my eyes, but however, I'm going to use in a little bit. You're going to see me use black eyeshadow to kind of go over that a little bit because I don't like for this type of play. I don't like the look of very obvious geometric type of shape, or more like how do you call that? I'm trying to make sure that I'm just basically darkening my my eyelash graphic. That was the word that I was looking for. I'm not trying to look like I have graphic eyeliner. I'm just trying to make sure that I extend my eyes to make it appear bigger, and also to make sure that that is dark. I'm getting ready to use that black eyeshadow to go over it. This is also a great tip. If you happen to use a pencil instead, once you put the black shadow over it, it's going to make it, it's going to really set it, which is going to also help the longevity of it, which is, again, what we're looking for when we're doing stage makeup, because we're getting ready to work, right? We're going to sweat. We're going to dance. We're going to sing. We're going to act. I'm going to go, now that I cleaned any fallout, I'm going to apply my foundation. I also chose a foundation that I know works for me because it has longevity. And I try to put it everywhere except under my eyes because, again, I have older, mature eyes. So I'm trying to not put 3 layers of product under my eyes if I don't have to. That is the concealer now that I'm getting ready to put on. And notice the placement of the concealer. The concealer I'm going to use it as a highlight. And again, by highlight, I don't mean shimmer or glimmer, or because I'm not, again, we're not mystical creatures. We are just trying to bring forth some areas in our face so we don't look flat. If you take a wall and you just painted one color, it's going to look very one-dimensional, right? But we are three-dimensional beings, or multifaceted beings. We have lots of angles, and we just trying to put back those dimensions that we sort of equalize by putting one color foundation on. So that's what I do. That is part of the concept of using lights and shadows. And I'm going to bring forth with a lighter color the front, the areas in my face that I want to bring forth. Then I'm going to set them with some powder after I make sure that I remove any excess that was creasing or settling into my lines. And then, because I am old-fashioned, I am going to set all of my face using a powder puff and a loose powder. You may not have to do that, but I do like to do that because, again, I working with my type of skin, which is oily, and I'm trying to make sure that I give my makeup a chance to stay put. Notice I put a little bit of powder on my eyebrows as preparation for what I'm going to do later, because sometimes eyebrows can get a little shiny. These are some options for contour powders. We basically are not trying to look tan. We're just using a contour powder to sculpt the face. This one is actually looking a little bit orange in here, but it's mostly because of the light. I have a bright light in front of me. This is actually a sculpting powder, and it's a pretty decent one that you can find at the drugstore. Although I'm going to put some options in the bottom that you can get for a much better price. I'm contouring my nose, not because I'm trying to make it look smaller, but because I am trying to, again, just add that definition to my features that I took away when I put the foundation. So we're not going for Michael Jackson nose. We're just trying to go for, I have a nose. And it's not going to just disappear in the rest of your face because it looks flat, because it has no definition, okay? So again, we're adding definition. If you want help to how to place the contour, you can feel that bone right under your cheek. And that's where you're going to apply the contour. I'm using a brush that looks pretty big, but I'm actually using an angle brush, and I'm using the bottom part of it to start applying my contour. Sometimes it works better if you just tap it or before you blend it, or try always tap it first. I have a big forehead, so my contour on my head is going to look a little bit wider, or a lot wider than yours. But it is a good idea to put a little bit around your hairline just to make sure that, again, we're trying to add those dimensions. This is one of the most important parts, which is we're kind of following the shape of a skeleton. Not because we're trying to look like a skeleton, but because this is just going to add a lot to kind of create that moody, that darker, deprived look that the director wants. Notice that I switched to a smaller brush because I want to make sure that I don't end up putting that contour so wide that then it stops being noticeable. If you feel like you overdid it, then you can blend it. I took that brush that I was using, that bigger one, and I have a towel next to me that I use to wipe excess. So that would be another tip that you can use. As you go through the makeup and you end up working in different parts of the face, with your eyes, your complexion, you're going to notice that you might need to go back and redo some things. I'm going around the jawline, just to, again, for definition, and down my neck. So the face doesn't look like it's separate from the rest of your body. If you have a lighter color clothing, then I suggest that you're careful with that so you don't get too much makeup on your clothes. I'm going to use a nude color blush just to add some color for dimension, because we are living beings. Notice that I'm not going for a trendy baby pink, blue pink, or anything that is a particular color. You want it to kind of look a little bit like a natural flush, just for definition's sake, but not necessarily because you're trying to look fresh or youthful or happy. This would be a great time to pencil in your brows, or use some cool brown powder to define your brows. I didn't do that. I usually don't do that a lot because I have them microbladed sort of. So, but I use an old-fashioned glue stick to set them on a spoolie. Some people use gel. You can also just take hairspray and spray your spoolie and then put it on your eyebrows. Never just hairspray, never hairspray your eyebrows. Just spray the spoolie. And then I'm using a very small brush to carefully put some shadow under my eyes. I am going to only work on defining my lower lash line where the eyelashes are. I don't put eyeliner, dark eyeliner in my waterline because I want to give the illusion of a bigger eye. But you definitely want to darken where your eyelashes are and connect it to the top. If you overdo it with the blush, or you think you did, or you need a little blendy blend, you can grab a brush with maybe a little powder on it or nothing on it and just try to blend it. I'm using now a lighter foundation powder to further emphasize that lightness in the center of the face. And also you're going to see me use it to put the powder right next to those contour lines that you drew earlier around the nose, and that is just going to help those lines to come, to be further defined. I also put a little bit on the beginning of my eyes, on the front of my eyes, just to open that area up. And I'm also highlighting the bridge of my nose again. By highlighting, I mean putting a lighter color that is matte to make it come forward. For lips, I'm using a neutral brown lip liner. This is what is going to look good for that, for this particular commission that I was given. We're going for nude lips, not nude concealer lips, but rather a nude color. There are different shades of nudes, and you need to make sure that you use one that it's the correct shade depending of how deep or light your complexion is. I like this one, and I find that it works for many people. Is called Brew, like what you drink in the morning. And it's great. And then if you notice, I am going to set, after I line and fill in my lips with a lip liner and I pressed my lips firmly, then I put some powder foundation or powder, and then I press them again. I am trying to work on a base to make sure that my lip liner, actually that my lip color stays. So I am going to line on top of that again and fill them in with this lip liner. You can tell that I really like that lip liner. And you want to choose a lip color that hopefully has longevity. That I have this one that I really, really like. Notice that it's kind of like a brownie. It's not a beigey pink. It's more like a brownie, a beige brownie color. But it's impactful enough that it could be easily read by the audience. If I feel like I need more if I need to punch it up a little bit more, then I just add a little bit more lip liner. And I'm going once again to further define that contour. And I realized that you can probably see one side better than the other one, but I had the light coming only from one side. This would be the finishing touches. Lashes would be, if you are able to put them on, would be great. There's some good ones like Ardell Wispies, not these ones that I put on. I don't like these ones, but they're very dramatic. Not really for the show, but that was the only pair that I had readily available open next to me. So once you have everything and you have perfected your contour, you can go ahead and set it with a fixing spray or setting spray. Make sure that you let it dry, and as you sweat through the night, you want to make sure that you pat the sweat off. You don't want to rub. And if you want to see another type of makeup tutorial, let me know. If you have any questions, also let me know. And I hope that you have a great show. Break a leg. Bye-bye.